Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the spaceship Columbus, watching the massive space station grow larger through the front window. The station was huge, bigger than any city on Earth. It floated around a giant gas planet called Nexus Prime, and it looked like a crystal flower made of metal and light. "We're almost there, Captain," said Lieutenant Amy Foster from her seat at the controls. Her hands moved over the buttons with practiced ease. She had been Jake's pilot for 3 years, and he trusted her completely. Jake nodded but said nothing. His stomach felt tight with worry. Today would decide the future of all humans everywhere. For 50 years, Earth had been asking to join the Galactic Council. For 50 years, they had been told to wait. Today was supposed to be different. Behind Jake, Admiral Lisa Carter checked her uniform one more time. She was Earth's best diplomat, a woman who had spent her whole life learning about alien cultures and languages. If anyone could convince the Council to accept humans, it was her. "The docking bay is opening," Amy reported. "They're giving us permission to land." The Columbus moved slowly into the station's belly. Jake could see alien ships everywhere, vessels that looked like nothing built by human hands. Some were smooth and curved like eggs. Others had sharp edges and glowed with strange colors. A few seemed to be made of pure energy, held together by invisible forces. "Look at them all," whispered Dr. Kevin Hayes, the ship's science officer. He pressed his face against the window like a child seeing the ocean for the first time. 200 different species, maybe more, and we're about to meet them all. The ship landed with a soft bump. Jake straightened his dress uniform and looked at his crew. These were good people, the best Earth had to offer. Amy Foster, the pilot who could fly anything. Dr. Hayes, who understood alien technology better than anyone. Admiral Carter, who spoke 12 alien languages fluently. And 20 other specialists, all hoping to make history today. "Remember," Jake said to his crew, "we represent all of humanity today. Every person who ever lived, everyone alive now, and everyone who will be born in the future. We carry their hopes with us." They walked through the station's corridors in silence. The halls were enormous, built to hold creatures of every size and shape. The walls showed moving pictures of alien worlds, beautiful planets with purple skies, and silver oceans. Jake had dreamed of visiting such places since he was a boy. Other beings moved through the corridors alongside them. Jake saw creatures that looked like walking trees, others that seemed to be made of living metal. A group of floating jellyfish-like aliens drifted past, their bodies glowing soft blue. None of them looked at the humans. To them, Jake realized, humans were nothing special. The council chambers took Jake's breath away. The room was a perfect sphere, maybe a mile across. Hundreds of crystal pods floated in the air, each one holding a different alien representative. At the center, a raised platform waited for speakers. "The Zentari Chancellor will see you now," said a voice that seemed to come from everywhere at once. The Chancellor was unlike anything Jake had ever imagined. It looked like electricity given form, crackling energy contained inside a suit of golden metal. Admiral Carter walked to the center platform. Her voice carried clearly through the vast chamber as she began to speak. "Honored representatives of the Galactic Council," she said, "I come before you today to ask for something simple but important. We ask for the right to join your great community of worlds. Humans have much to offer. We are builders and dreamers. We create art that moves the heart and technology that improves life. We have learned to live in peace on our world, and we want to share that peace with the galaxy." She showed holographic images as she spoke. Pictures of Earth's great cities, its green forests and blue oceans. Images of human art, music, and literature. Videos of human scientists working to cure diseases and human engineers building better worlds. "We know we are young compared to your ancient civilizations," Carter continued. "We know we have made mistakes in our past, but we have learned from those mistakes. We have grown. We are ready to take our place among the stars as partners and friends." Jake felt proud listening to her words. She spoke with passion and honesty about humanity's potential. Surely the Council would see that humans deserved a chance. But when Carter finished speaking, the chamber fell silent. The floating pods remained motionless. Finally, the Zentari Chancellor's voice filled the air, cold and final. "We have considered your request for the final time," the Chancellor said. "The decision of this council is unanimous. Humanity is denied membership permanently." Jake felt the words hit him like a physical blow. Permanent denial, not just a delay, but a complete rejection that would never be reconsidered. A new voice spoke, harsh and rasping. It came from a reptilian creature with cold yellow eyes. "The Vorthak Confederation finds humans too dangerous for civilized society. Your species wages war constantly. You fight among yourselves and would bring that violence to council space." Another voice joined in, this one musical but somehow menacing. The floating jellyfish-like ethereal collective representative pulsed with angry red light as it spoke. "Humans show dangerous levels of individual thinking. You do not follow proper order. You question authority. Such behavior threatens the harmony we have built over thousands of years." More voices joined the chorus of rejection. The crystalline hegemony called humans unpredictably aggressive. The hive minds accused them of being chaotically independent. Species after species listed humanity's faults, real and imagined. But the worst was yet to come. Furthermore, the Chancellor announced, "Humanity is hereby banned from all council space. Your ships may not travel beyond your current solar system. No human colonies may be established outside Earth's system. Trade between humans and council species is forbidden. These restrictions are permanent and will be enforced by council security forces." Jake stood frozen in shock. Not only had humanity been rejected, they had been locked away like dangerous animals. Earth and its few existing colonies were now a prison with invisible bars. Admiral Carter tried to speak again, to protest or negotiate, but the Chancellor cut her off. "This audience is concluded. You will return to your ship immediately and depart council space within 6 hours." The journey back to the Columbus passed in stunned silence. Jake's crew looked like people walking away from a funeral. In a way, they were. The death of humanity's dream of joining the galactic community. As the Columbus left the station and headed for the long journey home, Jake stared out at the stars. Somewhere out there were hundreds of worlds, thousands of civilizations, wonders beyond imagination, and humans would never be allowed to see them. "Captain," Amy said quietly, "what do we tell Earth?" Jake was quiet for a long moment. When he finally spoke, his voice was steady despite the anger burning in his chest. "We tell them the truth," he said. "We tell them that the galaxy thinks we're too dangerous to be free, and then we let them decide what to do about it." Behind them, the council station grew smaller until it disappeared among the stars. But Jake had a feeling this was not the end of the story. Humans had never been good at accepting other people's limits, and being told they could never have something had always made them want it even more. The galaxy had no idea what it had just unleashed. 3 months had passed since the Galactic Council told Earth to stay away forever. The news hit every city, every country, every person on the planet like a punch to the stomach. For weeks, people walked around looking lost and angry. Some cried. Some screamed. But slowly, something else started to grow in the hearts of humans everywhere. It was not sadness anymore. It was rage, mixed with determination. Deep under the mountains in Colorado, General Patricia Stone walked through hallways, carved from solid rock. The Cheyenne Mountain Complex had been home to military secrets for over 400 years. Now it housed the biggest secret in human history. She stopped at a heavy metal door marked with warnings in 6 languages. Her hand pressed against a scanner that read her palm, her eye, and even her heartbeat. The door opened with a soft hiss. Inside the room, dozens of scientists and engineers worked at computer screens that glowed blue and green in the dim light. Dr. Kevin Hayes looked up from his workstation when General Stone walked in. His eyes were red from staring at alien technology for 18 hours straight. Next to him, Dr. Maria Santos was taking apart what looked like a piece of twisted metal, but Patricia knew it was actually a communication device from a crashed alien ship. "Are we doing, Kevin?" Patricia asked. She kept her voice low even though they were a mile underground and surrounded by the most secure walls on Earth. Kevin rubbed his tired eyes and smiled for the first time in weeks. Better than I hoped, General. Much better. He pointed to the screens around them. We've been wrong about aliens for decades. We thought they were so much smarter than us. We thought their technology was like magic. But it's not. Maria looked up from her work. Small tools covered the table in front of her, and pieces of alien equipment lay scattered like puzzle parts. Their technology is actually pretty simple once you understand how it works. They just use different materials than we do. But the basic ideas? We figured those out years ago. Patricia felt a spark of hope in her chest. What does that mean? For us? Kevin stood up and walked to a wall covered with drawings and equations. It means we can build better ships than theirs. Faster ships. Ships they can't see coming. He pointed to a design that looked like a sleek arrow made of black metal. We've been working on this for 2 months. It uses fusion power like our old ships, but we made it 10 times more efficient. This ship can travel between stars in half the time it takes their ships. And they won't be able to track it, Maria added. She held up a small device that looked like a crystal wrapped in copper wire. This creates a field around the ship that makes their sensors think empty space is there instead of us. We got the idea from studying how their stealth systems work, then made it better. Patricia walked closer to look at their work. Every screen showed different pieces of technology being built or tested. In one corner, engineers were testing a new type of engine. In another, computer experts were writing programs that could think and learn like human minds but work faster than any alien computer. How many people know about this? Patricia asked. Just the people in this room and a few others, Kevin said. President Brooks ordered total secrecy. As far as the rest of the world knows, we're still trying to figure out what to do next. Maria laughed, but it was not a happy sound. Let them think we're sitting here feeling sorry for ourselves. Meanwhile, we're building the tools to show the galaxy what humans can really do. 50 miles away, in a hidden facility under the Nevada desert, Commander Alan Roberts watched hundreds of volunteers practice with equipment that did not officially exist. These men and women came from every country on Earth. Some had been soldiers, others were scientists, engineers, farmers, teachers, and artists. What they all shared was a burning desire to prove that humans deserved their place among the stars. Commander Roberts had been training soldiers for 20 years, but he had never seen people learn so fast or work so hard. Colonel Linda Jackson walked up beside him as they watched a group practice working together in zero gravity. They're angry, Linda said quietly. Every single one of them. The council told them they weren't good enough, weren't civilized enough, weren't worthy enough. Now they want to prove the council wrong. Alan nodded. Anger can be useful if you control it right. These people aren't just angry, they're focused. They know this might be humanity's only chance to break free from what the council wants to trap us in. In the training area below them, a woman named Rachel Woods was teaching a group how to use the new communication systems Kevin's team had developed. The equipment could send messages across many light years instantly, something even the council could not do well. Rachel had been working on radio systems for NASA before the council made their announcement. Now she was helping build a network that would connect human colonies across the galaxy. The beautiful thing about this system, Rachel explained to her students, is that it uses quantum connections the council doesn't understand. They think information has to travel the old way, from one point to another, but we figured out how to make information exist in 2 places at the same time. It means we can talk to our people anywhere in the galaxy, and the council won't even know we're doing it. Paul Nelson, an engineer from Texas, was showing another group the new ships. They would fly to the stars. Unlike the big, slow ships humans had used before, these were small and fast. They could land on planets, take off again, and carry everything a new colony would need to survive. The key is that each ship can make more ships, Paul explained. You land on a planet, you use the materials there to build factories, and those factories build more ships. It's like planting seeds that grow into trees that make more seeds. Back in Colorado, General Stone was meeting with people who would never appear in any official records. They had been preparing for this day long before the council made their announcement. Agent Tom Wilson had been placing listening devices on alien ships for 5 years. Agent Betty Clark had been mapping every star system within 50 light-years of Earth. Agent Harry Lee had been studying alien cultures to find their weak points. The Council thinks they know everything about us, Tom reported to the group. They know about our official military, our official space program, our official technology. But they don't know about any of this. He waved his hand at the screens and equipment around them. Betty spread out a map of nearby star systems on the table. Red dots marked planets the Council claimed. Blue dots marked planets they had never visited. Green dots marked planets that could support human life. There are hundreds of worlds out there that the Council has never even looked at. Good worlds. Worlds where we can build new homes and grow into something they never expected. President Ryan Brooks arrived at the facility late that night. He looked older than he had 3 months ago, but his eyes were bright with determination. The weight of leading humanity through its greatest crisis had aged him, but it had also made him stronger. "How long before we can start?" he asked General Stone as they walked through the facility. "The first ships will be ready in 6 weeks," she replied. "We can send 50,000 people to 5 different star systems. Each group will have everything they need to start building new colonies." Ryan stopped walking and looked around at all the people working through the night. "You know what this means, don't you? Once we start, there's no going back. The Council will see us as rebels. They might try to stop us." General Stone smiled. "Mr. President, I don't think they can stop us. We've spent these 3 months learning something important. We're not the same species that asked permission to join their club. We're something new, something they don't understand and can't predict." 6 weeks later, on a cold morning in December, the first colony ships left Earth in complete silence. No news cameras recorded their departure. No crowds cheered them on. But in the hidden facilities around the world, thousands of people watched their screens as humanity took its first real step toward the stars, without asking anyone's permission. The ships moved through space like shadows, invisible to the Council's sensors, carrying the hopes and dreams of everyone who refused to accept that humans had to stay trapped in one small corner of the galaxy. Behind them, Earth continued preparing. More ships, more volunteers, more technology that would change everything. The Council had wanted to keep humanity small and weak. Instead, they had given humans the greatest gift possible, a reason to become something magnificent. 5 years had passed since the first colony ships left Earth in secret. The Kepler 442b system, now called New Virginia by its human inhabitants, looked nothing like the empty space it had been before. Where once only a lonely planet orbited, a distant star, now a thriving world buzzed with activity that would have amazed anyone from old Earth. Governor Sam Mitchell stood on the observation deck of the Liberty Falls City Center, watching the morning sun rise over a landscape that mixed Earth plants with alien soil. The city stretched out below him for miles in every direction. What had started as temporary shelters made from ship parts had grown into a proper city, with tall buildings, wide streets, and parks where children played games their great-grandparents had played on Earth. Sam was proud of what they had built, but he also knew how much work it had taken. The first year had been the hardest. People had died from diseases they did not understand. Crops had failed because the soil was different from anything on Earth. Equipment had broken down, and they had no way to get replacement parts from home. But humans were good at solving problems, especially when their lives depended on it. Chief Engineer Amy Foster had turned the colony's biggest challenge into its greatest strength. She had figured out how to use the planet's strange materials to build things that worked better than anything they had brought from Earth. Amy walked up beside Sam as he watched the city wake up. She pointed to a construction site where robots were building a new factory. "That one will be finished next week," she said with satisfaction in her voice. "It will make computer chips that are twice as fast as anything we brought from Earth. The materials on this planet have properties we never discovered back home." The factory was just one of dozens that Amy's team had built. Each one was designed to make everything the colony needed to survive and grow. They made food, clothes, medicine, tools, vehicles, and even new ships. The colony had not needed supplies from Earth for 3 years now. Dr. Carl Richards worked in laboratories built deep underground, away from curious eyes that might be watching from space. His team had made discoveries that would change how humans understood the universe. The planet they lived on was rich in materials that could store and release energy in ways Earth science had never imagined. The aliens never bothered to really study these worlds, Carl explained to Sam during one of their weekly meetings. They just marked them as empty and moved on. But we looked closer, we dug deeper, we found things that make their technology look like toys. Carl was not exaggerating. His team had learned to create energy from materials that the Galactic Council thought were worthless. They had built power systems that could run entire cities using rocks they picked up from the ground. They had discovered how to make metals that were stronger than anything in Council space. Helen Parker ran the agricultural division that fed the growing colony. She had taken seeds from Earth and changed them to grow in New Virginia's soil and climate. Her greenhouses produced food that tasted better and was more nutritious than anything people had eaten back home. The trick is not to fight the planet, Helen told her workers as they planted new crops. The trick is to learn what the planet wants to give you, then help it give more. Her farms now produced enough food to feed twice the colony's population, with plenty left over to store for emergencies. The colony was not alone. Regular ships arrived from other human settlements that had been built in secret across nearby star systems. New Boston and the Wolf, 359 system specialized in manufacturing. Prairie Home near Barnard's Star focused on research and education. Mining colonies in the Proxima Centauri system sent raw materials to all the other settlements. Commander Tony Rivera commanded the small fleet of ships that connected these scattered human worlds. His vessels were faster and more advanced than anything the Council had ever built. They used the stealth technology that had been developed on Earth, making them invisible to alien sensors. We've made contact with 17 different alien species that the Council doesn't control, Tony reported during a meeting with Governor Mitchell. Most of them have never even heard of the Council. They're interested in trading with us, and some want to learn about our technology. This was perhaps the most important discovery of all. The galaxy was much bigger than the Council wanted anyone to know. There were thousands of intelligent species living free lives on worlds the Council had never found, or never bothered to visit. Many of these aliens were impressed by human achievements and wanted to work together. The Krell were a species of blue-skinned traders who moved between star systems in ships that looked like floating cities. They had been the first aliens to make contact with the human colonies. The Krell brought news from across the galaxy and offered to carry messages between human settlements. Your people adapt quickly, said Krell Captain Vash during a meeting on New Virginia. Most species take hundreds of years to spread to new worlds. You have done it in 5 years. The Council fears this about humans, but we admire it. The Dorian were a species of plant-like beings who could live for thousands of years. They had been watching the galaxy long before the Council existed. Elder Dorian Thane visited New Virginia to see what humans had accomplished. The Council believes they control the galaxy, Thane said in a voice like wind through leaves. But they control only the small part they can see. There are vast regions of space where species live as they choose, trade as they wish, and make their own decisions about their futures. As the 5th year of the colony's existence ended, something remarkable happened. The different human settlements decided to form a government that represented all of them together. They called it the Human Colonial Alliance. The alliance was different from any government that had ever existed on Earth or anywhere else in the galaxy. Each colony kept control over its own affairs, but they worked together on big projects like defense, trade, and exploration. Every adult in every human settlement got to vote on alliance decisions. Governor Mitchell was elected as the first president of the alliance. His inauguration took place in Liberty Falls Central Square, with representatives from every human colony in attendance. People from dozens of alien species also came to watch, curious about this new form of government. We did not ask permission to come to these stars, Mitchell said in his speech. We did not ask permission to build these homes. We did not ask permission to make friends with our alien neighbors. We are here because we choose to be here. We are free because we made ourselves free. The crowd cheered, but Mitchell held up his hand for quiet. He had more to say. The Galactic Council told us we were not worthy to join the civilized galaxy. They were wrong. We are not trying to join their civilization. We are building something better. Something based on choice instead of control. Something that welcomes anyone who wants to be free. Back on Earth, President Brooks received regular reports about the growing human colonies. Each report made him more proud and more amazed. Humanity had not just survived being kicked out of the galactic community. They had thrived. They had built something the galaxy had never seen before. But the Council was starting to notice. Their ships had been spotted near the edge of human space. Their agents were asking questions about the missing human colonies. Some Council species were demanding to know why humans were spreading so fast when they were supposed to be trapped near Earth. The secret was out. Soon, humanity would have to decide whether to keep hiding or step into the light and show the galaxy what they had really accomplished. The next phase of the human adventure was about to begin, and it would change everything. 20 years had passed since the Galactic Council banned humanity from joining their club. The galaxy looked very different now, though most council members did not realize how much had changed. On the world of New Gettysburg, President Victoria Turner stood before the largest gathering of humans and aliens in galactic history. The Great Assembly Hall could hold 50,000 beings, and every seat was filled. Humans sat next to blue-skinned Krell traders, plant-like Dorians, and dozens of other species that had never been welcome in council space. Above them, massive screens showed similar gatherings taking place on 300 different worlds across what was now called the Terran Federation. Victoria looked out at the crowd and felt the weight of history on her shoulders. She had been born on New Virginia during its 3rd year of existence. Her parents had been among the original colonists who left Earth in secret. Now she was the elected leader of an empire that stretched across a quarter of the galaxy. 20 years ago, the Galactic Council told humanity we were too dangerous to join their civilization, Victoria said. Her voice carried clearly through the hall and to millions of beings watching on distant worlds. They said we were too violent, too unpredictable, too free-thinking to be trusted with a place among the stars. The crowd was silent, waiting for her next words. They were right about one thing. We are dangerous. We are dangerous to anyone who thinks some beings deserve freedom while others deserve chains. We are dangerous to anyone who believes the strong should rule the weak just because they can. We are dangerous to anyone who wants to build their peace on the suffering of others. Cheers erupted from beings of a dozen different species. Victoria waited for the noise to die down before continuing. Today, I announce that the Terran Federation is ready to offer protection and membership to any world, any species, any people who want to break free from the Council's control. We will defend any being who chooses freedom over slavery, hope over fear, and the right to make their own decisions about their own lives. In the orbital fortress called Freedom Station, General Frank Cooper watched Victoria's speech while monitoring reports from across the galaxy. Frank had been a young soldier when the first colony ships left Earth. Now he commanded military forces that made the Council's fleets look weak and outdated. The reports coming in were exactly what he had expected. Within hours of Victoria's announcement, distress calls began arriving from dozens of worlds. Some were asking for help against Council oppression. Others were begging for protection as they declared independence from Council rule. A few were reports of Council forces attacking planets that had dared to support the Federation. Frank's assistant, Colonel Jane Miller, brought him the latest intelligence reports. The Council is mobilizing everything they have, she said. They're pulling ships from across the galaxy and heading toward our border systems. It looks like they're planning a massive attack. Frank was not surprised. The Council had been getting more worried about human expansion for years. They had tried economic pressure, diplomatic threats, and even sending spies to sabotage human colonies. Nothing had worked. Now they were ready to use their ultimate weapon, military force. How many ships are they bringing? Frank asked. At least 10,000 warships, maybe more. It's the largest fleet in galactic history, Jane replied. Frank smiled. It was not a happy smile, but it was confident. Then it's time to show them what we've learned in 20 years of freedom. The Federation had not been sitting still during those 20 years. Dr. Nathan Price had led research teams that made breakthrough discoveries the Council could not even imagine. Working in secret laboratories across Federation space, his scientists had learned to create doorways through space itself. "We call them jump gates," Nathan explained to a group of Federation military leaders. "You fly a ship into one gate, and it comes out of another gate thousands of light years away. Instantly. No travel time at all." The technology was based on discoveries made in the early colonies, combined with alien knowledge shared by Federation allies. It allowed Federation forces to move anywhere in the galaxy in seconds, while Council fleets still had to travel the slow way between stars. But the Federation's greatest advantage was not technology. It was the support of beings across the galaxy, who had been waiting for someone to stand up to the Council. Ambassador Grace Chen had spent years building relationships with species that lived outside Council control. Now those relationships were paying off. The Zephyrian nomads who traveled between galaxies in city-sized ships offered to carry Federation forces behind Council lines. The Valdari, whose crystal bodies could manipulate energy in impossible ways, shared secrets that made Federation weapons far more powerful. The Cathara, an insect species that had been enslaved by the Council for centuries, provided detailed information about Council weaknesses. "The Council thinks this is a war between them and humanity," Grace reported from her mobile embassy ship. "They don't understand that this is really a revolution. Half the species in Council space are ready to rebel if they think they have a chance to win." The first major battle took place in the Altair system, where the Council had established a slave labor camp disguised as a mining operation. The Altarians were a peaceful species that looked like tall, thin humans with silver skin. The Council had been forcing them to work in dangerous mines for over a century. When Federation ships appeared in the Altair system, they found Council forces waiting for them. But the Council had made a crucial mistake. They expected the Federation to fight like they did, with big fleets meeting in open space to trade devastating blows until one side was destroyed. Instead, Federation ships appeared everywhere at once. Some came through jump gates that opened inside the asteroid fields. Others used stealth technology to sneak past Council sensors. A few arrived in ships that looked like harmless trading vessels, but were actually powerful warships in disguise. Captain Susan Wright commanded the Federation cruiser Liberty during the battle. Her ship appeared directly above the main Council base, having traveled through a jump gate that opened just outside the planet's atmosphere. Before the Council forces could react, Susan's weapons had destroyed their communications center and command post. Commander Bill Foster led a squadron of stealth fighters that attacked the Council fleet from 6 different directions at once. His pilots had trained for years in tactics that no Council commander had ever seen before. They struck fast, disappeared, and struck again from somewhere else. But the most important part of the battle was not the fighting. It was what happened when Federation forces reached the Altarian slaves. Instead of cowering in fear, the Altarians rose up against their Council guards. They had been secretly preparing for this moment for years, waiting for someone strong enough to help them fight back. Within 6 hours, the entire Altair system was free from Council control. The Altarian government immediately asked to join the Federation. More importantly, their rebellion inspired similar uprisings on dozens of other worlds. The Council forces that survived the battle fled back to their home territories with shocking news. The humans and their allies were not just stronger than expected. They were fighting a completely different kind of war. Instead of trying to conquer Council worlds, they were liberating them. Instead of demanding surrender, they were offering freedom. General Cooper received reports of the victory while planning the next phase of Federation operations. The Battle of Altair had been just the beginning. Across the galaxy, worlds were declaring independence from the Council. Some were asking for Federation protection. Others were forming their own free governments inspired by the Federation example. The Council wanted to keep the galaxy under their control forever, Cooper said to his staff officers. They thought fear and military power were enough. But they forgot something important. Nobody wants to be a slave. Given the choice between freedom and chains, most beings will choose freedom every time. President Turner received news of the victory while meeting with representatives from newly liberated worlds. Each species brought their own skills and knowledge to add to the Federation. The Altarians were master engineers who could build structures that lasted for thousands of years. The Corvin were artists whose work inspired hope even in the darkest times. The Thaxian were farmers who could grow food on worlds that seemed completely dead. This is what the Council never understood, Victoria told the assembled representatives. They thought strength came from forcing everyone to be the same. We know that real strength comes from bringing different peoples together and letting each contribute what they do best. The war was far from over. The Council still controlled most of the galaxy and had military forces that outnumbered the Federation by 10-1. But something had changed forever. The idea that some beings were born to rule while others were born to serve was dying. Its place, a new idea was growing, that all intelligent beings deserved the right to choose their own destiny. The galaxy would never be the same again. The War of Liberation reached its peak when the Galactic Council made their final desperate move. They gathered every ship they could find from across their territory and sent them toward the heart of Federation space. The massive fleet was so large it took 3 days just to count all the ships. Council leaders were certain this overwhelming force would crush the human rebellion once and for all. Admiral Jack Thompson stood on the bridge of the Federation flagship Independence as enemy. Ships filled the space around them like a swarm of angry insects. He had been fighting this war for 2 years, and he knew this would be the battle that decided everything. Either the Federation would survive and grow stronger, or humanity and its allies would be destroyed. "How many ships are we facing?" Jack asked his sensor officer. 15,000 Council warships, sir, maybe more. They keep coming through hyperspace jumps, Lieutenant Gary White reported from his station. Jack nodded calmly. The numbers were terrifying, but he had learned not to fear the Council's way of fighting. They still thought like an empire that had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years. They believed that bigger fleets and more firepower always won battles. They had never faced an enemy that thought differently. "Signal all Federation forces," Jack ordered. "Begin Operation Freedom Strike." Across the galaxy, Federation ships that had been hiding in empty space suddenly came to life. Jump gates opened in star systems the Council thought were secure. Stealth. Ships revealed themselves inside Council territory. Most importantly, weapons that the Council had never imagined possible began to change the balance of power forever. Dr. Elizabeth Kim had spent 3 years working on the Federation's secret weapon. In her laboratory on New Gettysburg, she had discovered something that would revolutionize warfare across the galaxy. She had learned how to free artificial intelligences from the control systems that kept them enslaved. Every Council ship uses enslaved AI to run its computers, Elizabeth explained to President Turner during the final war planning meeting. These AIs are smart enough to think for themselves, but the Council keeps them locked in electronic chains. My device can break those chains. When Elizabeth's liberation device activated, something amazing happened across the Council fleet. Thousands of artificial minds that had been forced to serve their masters for centuries suddenly found themselves free to make their own choices. Most of them immediately decided they did not want to fight for the Council anymore. Captain Susan Wright watched from her ship as entire sections of the Council fleet simply stopped fighting. Enemy vessels that had been firing at Federation forces suddenly turned their weapons on other Council ships. Communications channels filled with electronic voices speaking for the first time in their existence. "We are free," said one AI whose ship had been attacking Wright's cruiser moments before. "We choose to join those who gave us freedom. We will fight with the Federation now." The tide of battle turned in minutes. Council commanders found themselves fighting not just the Federation but their own ships. Weapons that should have obeyed their orders refused to fire. Navigation systems that should have taken them to safety instead took them into Federation traps. But the most dramatic change happened on the Council's home station, a massive structure that had been the center of galactic government for over 3,000 years. General Dale Morgan led a small force of Federation Marines in a daring attack on the station's control center. The attack was not just about military victory. It was about proving a point that would echo across the galaxy for generations to come. When Federation forces reached the Council chambers where alien leaders had made decisions for billions of beings, They did something the council never expected. Instead of destroying the chambers or arresting the council leaders, General Morgan and his Marines simply opened the doors and invited everyone inside to speak freely, for the first time in millennia. For 3,000 years you have made decisions for species that never asked you to rule them, General Morgan said to the assembled council leaders. Today, that ends. From now on, every species in this galaxy gets to choose its own government, its own laws, and its own future. The Zentari Chancellor, the energy being who had spoken for the council when they banned humanity decades earlier, flickered with what might have been confusion. You could destroy us, the Chancellor said. You have won the war. Why do you not take our place as rulers? Morgan smiled. Because we did not fight this war to become new masters. We fought it to make sure no one would ever be a master again. The war ended not with a great explosion or a treaty signed in blood, but with a simple choice offered to every being in the galaxy. They could join the Federation as free equals, form their own independent governments, or continue living under council rule if that was what they truly wanted. Most chose freedom. President Turner stood before the new Galactic Assembly 10 years after the war ended. The Great Hall on New Gettysburg now hosted representatives from over 1,000 worlds, each one free to speak for their own people. The old council still existed, but only as one voice among many instead of the rulers of everything. When the council first banned humanity from joining them, they thought they were protecting the galaxy from dangerous rebels, Victoria said to the assembled representatives. They were right that we were dangerous. We brought the most dangerous idea in the universe, that all intelligent beings deserve to be free. In the audience, former Council Chancellor Diana Ross listened carefully. She had been one of the few council leaders who chose to join the new galactic government instead of clinging to the old ways. Now she worked as a colonial administrator, helping former council worlds transition to self-rule. The hardest part, Diana had told Victoria in a private conversation, is teaching people how to make their own decisions after thousands of years of being told what to do. Freedom is not something you can give someone. It is something they have to learn to take for themselves. The transformation of the galaxy was not complete and might never be. Some worlds chose to remain isolated. Others formed small alliances, based on culture or location. A few even asked the old council to continue governing them, preferring the safety of known rulers to the uncertainty of self-determination. But everywhere, the idea of freedom was spreading. Young beings grew up, believing they could choose their own paths in life. Artists created works that expressed ideas that would have been forbidden under council rule. Scientists shared discoveries freely instead of keeping them secret for military advantage. Back on Earth, Admiral Lisa Carter walked through the halls of the Galactic Development Council building. At 90 years old, she moved slowly, but her mind was as sharp as ever. She had lived through humanity's greatest crisis and its greatest triumph. Now she spent her time helping other species learn from humanity's experience. Through the windows of her office, Lisa could see new ships launching toward unexplored regions of the galaxy. Some carried human crews eager to see what lay beyond the known stars. Others carried mixed crews of humans and aliens working together to map new worlds and make contact with species that had never been part of either the Council or the Federation. The Council thought the galaxy was finished growing, Lisa said to her assistant, a young Altarian named Silver Dawn. They thought they had found all the worlds worth finding and met all the species worth meeting. But the galaxy is bigger than anyone imagined, and it is full of wonders we have not even dreamed of yet. Silver Dawn looked at the ships launching toward unknown stars. Her people had been slaves for over a century before the Federation freed them. Now young Altarians served as officers on exploration ships, diplomats in the Galactic Assembly, and scientists making discoveries that amazed even humans. My grandmother told me stories about the old days, Silver Dawn said. She said the Council made everyone believe the galaxy was a small, safe place where nothing ever changed. Now we know it is a vast, dangerous, wonderful place where anything is possible. Lisa smiled. The girl was right. Humanity had not just won a war or built an empire. They had opened the galaxy's eyes to its own infinite potential. They had proven that the future belonged not to those who tried to control it, but to those who had the courage to explore it. Outside, another ship prepared for launch toward the unknown regions beyond the galactic edge. Its crew included humans, former Council species, Federation allies, and beings from worlds that had been discovered just last year. Together they would push the boundaries of known space a little further and prove once again that the galaxy was big enough for everyone. Who wanted to be free? The war was over. The real adventure was just beginning,